Profit of thought. Open your mind.
Lady, cat, lady, class, lady, Kendra, the unicorn.
Open your mind.
Thursday. Lady Kendra, lady cat, lady. The unicorn.
Open your mind.
Peace, folks, and welcome back to another edition of the Proper Thought Series right here on the old T.L.O.T YouTube page. I'm your host, X, but you know that already. That's why you're here. And of course, tonight is the night we're always waiting for, folks. Tonight, T.L.O.T, the Ladies of Thought, Unicorn 4 in the house, live and direct. And of course, the first unicorn to arrive, as always, true to form.
Good
Lady
evening.
Ming. What's going on, Lady Ming?
Nothing too much. How are you?
I'm good.
That's what's up.
Yeah, tonight, y'all, as y'all can see down there on the old title down here. I see you down there, Lady Cats. Right here, if y'all look on the old title right there. Tonight, we will be talking about is conscious a con? And also, we're gonna do it in a little style of old yeah, some dark exodus in the house tonight. So y'all already know what this is going to be. So you might want to put the kids to bed. Yeah, this is just a fair warning. As a matter of fact, let me do my disclaimer. The following broadcast is not suitable for young viewers. Parental discretion is advised because X is going to be talking some shit. Unfiltered, uncut, and unclean. Yeah. So, also, let me get this out of the way like I always do. I got a few donations last night for last night's stream when I was on with Black Male Talk. Everybody, you know who you are because, I always hit you up with old email whenever you send me something. So I want to thank you for your contribution. And for that contribution, I will promise to continue to bring you mind-opening content and take every damn dollar that you send me and take it and put it right back into the old TPOT machine to continue to bring you good stuff every Wednesday and Thursday night. I promise. What's good, Lady Classic? I see you down there. Yeah.
Good evening, sir.
What's going on?
Not much. Excited for tonight.
Yeah. The reason why I wanted to talk about this is because actually I was listening to the show from last week, and I was listening to what you ladies were saying. And we were talking about, what people are saying and what people are doing. And oftentimes we have people who, I guess, bill themselves or call themselves conscious. And more often than not, these are the most prolific people who are saying, do this, do that. But when it comes to them doing it, I believe that a lot of them are not doing the shit that they're telling everybody else to do. So, this was inspired by the unicorns, like a lot of subjects are, because after every show, I usually go back and I watch the show the next day and I listen to what my team talks about. And that's usually how I formulate ideas for the following weeks. So you can thank T.L.O.T for this subject tonight. Also, I want to bring y'all up to speed. I want to talk to y'all about the website. The website, y'all know, it's still under construction, but it's not going to be under construction for long. It's just that old X has been busy. I haven't been able to be on it the way I want to, because I'm like sun up to sun down. I basically come straight from my shop, clean up, get ready so I can freaking get on here. So the next day that we get some big rain and I'm not doing too much, I promise I'm gonna work on the website. But I want y'all to go on the website, www.don'teventreit.wikifoundry.com, and I want y'all to check out a page called Tribute to the Fallen. I've talked about this before. Tribute to the Fallen is a page where people have met their end by needless, senseless violence, whether it be in the streets or by the hands of police. A lot of the names you go up there and see, you will recognize, some you will not. So if you have someone that you want to be put on the Tribute to Fallen carousel, go to that page. My email is on that page. You can hit me up and you can send me the picture. Make sure you send me the person's name when you send me the picture, and I'll make sure that they go up on the Tribute to the Fallen. Is something that I've been doing for a while. And like I said, you go up there and check it out. Some of the names you will recognize, some you may not. But if you got somebody that you think should be on Tribute to the Fallen, just let me know. Hit me up, and I will put their picture on the tribute as well. I'll make sure it get up on the carousel, because somebody had wrote me, and they they wrote me a long letter, and they was like, "Oh, X, I want you to put this person up there." So, but they sent me a picture that I couldn't open because they sent it I think they sent it like Doc X or something like that, and I couldn't open it. So if you're listening, take the picture, try to convert it to PDF or JPG or PNG so I can open it. You know what I'm saying? If you can do that, just send me that and I'll make sure it go up. It'll be up there tomorrow when you check it. All right, if you're listening. What else? La 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 la. That's it. And that's about it. So let's just get right into it. Now, I'm sure the lady Kendra didn't get here yet. What's going on? She might be having some problems with her browser or something. All right, well, we'll go on because she'll be here eventually. Now, all of you are aware of the so-called conscious people, because you ladies are in media, y'all in and out media. So we talk about the conscious. Everyone on this Unicorn 4 panel know what we're talking about, right? So let me go ahead and ask you ladies right off the rip, and then I'll come in with mine. What do you ladies think of the so-called conscious folks?
I think some of them have good information, but I also think a lot of them are a bit unhinged. I don't know. That's would be my first impression of most of them.
I think they're a bit disjointed as a community as a whole. Generally speaking, I choose not to broad brush stroke their attributes or lack thereof simply because there's so many different variations of consciousness or it's levels to this shit, you know? So maybe and that it lends itself to the fact that it's disjointed and not, you know, the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing. But I do think it's well intended for those who are well intended and not the narcissistic, mudding, grubbing, duplicitous portions or fashions of the conscious community, which, you know, every community has those type of people. So, but I would be cautious to just finger point and say you are this, this, that, and the third, because it's just not that cut and dry.
Well, as to me, when I see and hear and speak to the conscious community, what I see are a group of community of people who have, you know, the woke concept I believe in. Whereas I mean, you can be sheep in the Western world. It's very easy to go along, to get along, to not open your eyes, to not see what's right in front of you. And so I think that this concept of being conscious and this consciousness movement started off with good intentions. I think many movements like that do. I think the problem is with the conscious community is that from there, they didn't know where to go without enough information, which honestly, once this consciousness thing began, there just wasn't the information. I mean, as it is, even with all of the advancements we've made, how can you tell, for example, so you want to celebrate the fact that you are from the continent, not country, the continent of Africa, where? And this is where you start seeing, I think, the disjointedness and kind of the lostness that I feel comes from the conscious community, because they'll be wearing one garment from Ghana, another one from Nigeria, speaking something from Ethiopia, so on and so forth, because they really don't know where on the continent they come from, and they don't even honestly have enough, I think, information at this point to try to get that information. But more importantly is I think there's so much lostness and so much yearning that's kind of clouding this wokeness. You realize you shouldn't go along to get along. You see what's in front of you, but what is the answer? I think that they, like a lot of us, have come up with the answer that it's a lack of culture. It's a lack of unity. And, you know, they kind of have that part of the story, but they don't know how to then create a culture. And that's what they want to do. That's what they're desperate to do. And they're not understanding that you can't fake manufacture a culture, and you can't sit there and pluck a bunch of random things from a bunch of random countries on a continent and wear those proudly and think that, okay, well, that's it, you're woke now and you're Africanized and you're good to go. So I think really, I guess that was a long way of saying, when I think of the conscious community, I think of awake, lost people.
My thought when I think about the quote unquote conscious folks, I think a small minority of them are just straight full of shit. I mean, let's just get that out there. Some of them are just straight full of shit. I think the vast majority of them, though, I think they believe in what they say. Many of them. I believe that they're on a mission to make people more aware of things. My problem is what they're trying to make people aware of. Because when you say conscious, you're conscious to what? You're conscious to history. You're conscious to white supremacy, the white power structure. You're conscious about Africa. What are you conscious of? A lot of times my problems with the so-called conscious folks, some of them, is that most of their shit is based on history. It's based on, you know, Egyptian monuments and Kemet and Africa 300 and 400 years ago. And my thing is that that the so-called conscious people, a lot of them, they don't tell you shit that can help your life now. I mean, they tell you shit that can help you get on a stage and debate other brothers in history like they do. But a lot of them, they don't tell you shit that can help you now. You don't hear them talking about finances. You don't hear them talking about self-development. You don't hear them talking about social skills or civil skills, or you don't hear them telling brothers to start their own business, grow their own food. You know, you don't hear that kind of shit. I mean, that's those quote unquote conscious people I have a problem with, because I know I'm aligned with some brothers who are quote unquote conscious. All right, I'm aligned with some, and you know, the brothers that I'm aligned with are pretty much on the up and up. Because if they wasn't, I probably wouldn't fuck with them. If they was full of shit, I wouldn't deal with them at all. But a lot of them, they're basically just a bunch of people telling you a bunch of fucking information that ain't gonna do shit for your life. To be honest, a lot of them ain't. You got people explaining to you about white man this, white man that. Don't work for the white man. Don't do this. But they got a job where they work for the white man. You got people who tell you, oh, you need to be growing your own food and all this kind of bullshit. But they live in a goddamn tenement building. They're not growing their own food. You know, so you have all these people telling you all this shit. People are telling you, oh, you need to get up and move to Africa. Number one, they ain't never been to Africa. The books they reading were made in America. The goddamn beads they wearing were made in goddamn China, and the goddamn dashiki that they wearing was made in India. So these kind of so-called conscious people are the people that I have problems with, because see, it's one thing if you're telling people shit and you're also applying it to your own life. It's another thing if you're just, you know, putting on this damn conscious suit and walking out and giving these people all these quote unquote conscious fucking instructions that you're not even following yourself. I mean, you have a lot of these freaking so-called conscious brothers who talk about all this conscious shit about living right and all that, but meanwhile they in the hood selling dope, selling crack, robbing folks, carrying guns, shooting people. How conscious is that? How conscious is that? Then you got the damn hotep hoes. They walk around here telling you, be righteous, be this, be pure. Meantime, she a baby mama 5 times over and she's still chasing dicks. So the people like that, I told y'all, this was dark Exodus. Now, people like that, those are the conscious con artists, all right? They're con artists because they're telling you to do shit that they're not doing. They're telling you to live a way that they're not living. Okay? They fucking con artists. And a lot of them, it seems like you're seeing more and more of those nowadays than you are seeing the legitimate people who actually believe in the shit that they teach. But let me ask you ladies this. Do you think that the so-called conscious folks, do they help Black society at all, or do they hurt it? And if they do help or hurt it, in which ways?
Well, I want to tie that into what you were kind of just saying too, when you were talking about basically the hypocrite nature of the community, the do as I say, not as I do undertone to the movement. And I would pose a question and say, what difference does that make? And why I say that is this. It's akin to, say, a parent telling you not to do X, Y, and Z, yet they still do X, Y, and Z. So what? Does that mean that the lesson or the message doesn't have any value because they don't apply it to their own life? I guess on the one hand it does, but I would argue that on the other hand, it really doesn't. So to answer your direct question on does it help or hinder the Black community, I guess that's the individual choice on what you choose to do when you've been past the football. Do you run with it, or do you sit it down because the person who passed it to you can't run? You know what I mean? Like that makes absolutely no sense to me. So I think it's up to the discernment of the individual to decide if they're going to take this information that they've heard and take it from there and continue to do more research and pick and choose from it what they want. Like, you know, a vulture over a dead body, picking the meat from the bones. That's what you're supposed to use. Spit out the shit you don't need. I think that we get caught up in blaming. I think that that idea that, well, they're not doing it, or they're saying these things, but they're living this way, or they're trying to tell me this, but they're doing that. I think we get caught in those mundane details that really don't mean shit in the grand scheme of things. Because the reality of the situation is what someone eat really doesn't make you shit. So whether or not they're applying the principles to their life shouldn't stop you from applying the principles to yours. And if you feel that strongly, I mean, because this is the thing. To me, it's like whomever it is that can honestly say that they don't give advice that they themselves have not taken, be the first person to throw the stone. And nobody can do that. I feel like a part of our problem with the whole debate and no action is that we get caught up in the bullshit that really don't matter anyway, that's inconsequential to the end game anyway. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, you have to use your spirit of discernment to decide on whether the message is pure or it should be, you know, taken away from the messenger, or whether they should be combined. I mean, that's an individual thing. But just generally speaking, as a Black community, it don't matter who's harming or hurting us, because most of us are around here in the world ass backwards anyway. Because they can't be logical and think linear. It's all about feelings. I feel. Fuck that. Is the message good or not? Is it something that's applicable to your life or not? Can you make these dollars, you know, this cents into dollars or not? If not, move on. That's just how I feel about it.
Well, it's kind of hard for me to say, because a lot of the Black people that I encounter within a daily basis, like, they don't like to listen to like a lot of the people in the conscious community. So I can't really say whether or not these people's advice would work or help, because a lot of the people that I know, you know, they call it being militant and all that other bullshit. Like, I don't want to hear all that Black shit and all that. So, you know, it's kind of like, I'm not going to say that it hurts or helps, because they don't really want to listen to it at all. Like, so it's kind of hard for me to gauge that, to tell you the truth. Like, in my own day-to-day experience with Black people. Now, personally speaking, there have been some things that I've heard that have helped me. There have been some things that I've heard that I probably wouldn't do. But that's basically like my take on whether or not it's helpful to Black people as a whole.
Well, I think that, in my opinion, I don't, it's one of those things that I think is a lot like, say, the Black church. When you look at a lot of communities that are very strong and thriving and growing and are able to rebuild and so on and so forth, community is, you know, they are basically built around the church. It can be this wonderful, strong force that binds everyone together in unity. In the case of our community, it's not doing anything but harm. So I think that, like many of the movements, is the fact that the Black conscious community is doing harm or good. I don't think that it's really having an effect. I think that those who are good, and as it inherently good, their motivations are good. The things that they want to achieve for the Black community are good and are selfless. They are going to be drawn to factions of, say, this conscious community that are like that. Those people are already inherently like that. If it wasn't consciousness that they were drawn to, then it would have been to the church. And if not to the church, it would have been to something. And likewise, the ones that are selfish and are all for gain and are all for the con, If it wasn't conscious community, then it would have been the church. It would have been whatever, life insurance, right? So I think that honestly, that our community is so disjointed and kind of fractured that a lot of these movements are ultimately not going to have an impact that is, really majorly positive or negative, because they're going to be reflections of the community itself. And our community is not in a place where we have enough unity in and of itself that any one factor is going to be able to, I mean one factor like this, like some movement like the conscious community is going to be able to impact us greatly one way or the other.
Well, here's the thing. And Lady Ming said something very important. She said that, does it really matter if the person who is giving the message isn't exactly living the lifestyle that they're giving, living the lifestyle, in accordance to the message that they're giving others, I should say. And I think it is, to a degree. If you're saying you're this person, you're saying I'm this conscious person, so I eat a certain way, I do things a certain way, and you should too. Now, it's one thing. I'll make a distinction. I'll make a distinction between the two things. It's one thing if you're a person who's just trying to teach people how to do something. But if you're telling people to do what you do, but you're not really doing it.
Well, that's just a fraud.
Now, if you're saying you're doing it, but you're not really doing it.
That's another thing. I was talking more in line with this to make it simpler. I had a child at 15. I tell people don't have children that young. Should they not listen to me because I did it?
But that's different. That's different.
But is it really?
You're speaking.
But that was really what I was kind of saying. Like you can't. Sometimes you have to separate the message from the messenger. A person could say, "Why should I listen to you? You did it. Look at you." But I did it. But with all these things and these stars aligned, so is my message now less effective because I have a 23-year-old at 39?
No,
that's illogical.
But you know what though?
But you're speaking from experience, Lady Ming. Regardless of if you're telling people don't do what I did, you are speaking from experience. And we know what experience is, right? Experience is what happens to a person. Experience is what a person does with what happens to them. So you're still speaking from experience.
100%, I agree, but those criteria weren't laid out with the question. So just generally speaking, that's kind of why I gave that idea, because that's exactly where I'm coming from. Not the one you gave about a person being a fraud or duplicitous or a liar. That's a whole nother ball game.
You know what though? And then I think there's a middle option as well though, where, first of all, you didn't go out of your way to, hey, you know what? I feel like being, a 15-year-old mom.
No, quite the opposite, actually.
Right? Exactly. It's like, oops, my bad. So you're not going to say, just don't do it. You're also going to say, hey, use condoms, be on birth control, blah, blah, blah. But I think that there's also the type of person who will say, don't do what I did and then get pregnant the next year. So now they're a 16-year-old mom with 2 kids and then a 17-year-old mom with 3 kids. I mean, at some point, if you made one mistake and you learn from it yourself, and now you're trying to tell everyone else, hey, don't make the mistake first to learn from it. I'm going to tell you why, versus the people who say, oh God, it's so hard being a 15-year-old mom. Don't do it. And then within 2 years, they're pregnant again. Well, I'm not really going to listen to you.
Yeah, I understand.
It's like, I think to me, at least it's a little bit different versus the person who does it once and says, shit, I'm going to learn too. So,
well, I listen to you ladies. Okay.
Thank you.
We've been together for a while now. We're all friendly here. Do you ladies consider yourselves conscious? Are you conscious?
So I'm conscious about some things. I'm not conscious about. I have a little bit of knowledge about everything to make enough to make me dangerous. You know what I mean? I take consciousness and awokeness to a whole nother level too. Not just about race and things like that too, but just about our consciousness on this planet and dimensionally speaking and ascension and all those things. So I like to think I am, but not just in that narrow-minded way. Not at all.
I'm still learning.
Do you consider yourself conscious, Lady Cats?
Not fully. Like I said, I'm still learning. There's a lot of things I would like to learn about first before I could fully consider myself.
Lady Classic.
In my personal opinion, I hate when people say stuff like this, but it's true. I would not subscribe myself to a label like I'm conscious or I'm woke. So I think ultimately that then groups me with a group of people and says that there's a lot more than just my eyes are open that I'm subscribing to, which is not true, which is not the case. It's also why I don't subscribe to a particular religion, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that ultimately, to me, when people say they're conscious, it's like they're not, because you opened your eyes, you saw the sheeple around you, but then from there it's like you got up and you went somewhere else to go be sheeple somewhere else. You turned on your brain, it became difficult, and you went somewhere else so you could turn it back off and feel good about yourself. Because at least you're not following the sheeple who are following this path. So no, I don't consider myself conscious, but I also don't necessarily consider being conscious or woke these days to be a positive thing.
We've been joined by Lady Kendra. I think I see her down there.
Ooh. Is that Kendra?
Lady Kendra?
Yeah, hello everyone.
Look at the new avatar. Look at the new avatar.
That display picture is girl.
I can't see it. I'm seeing the old one. You know what? Let me go live here.
I apologize.
Okay, I see it.
Everyone. Just running behind a little. Okay, so is the question, do I consider myself conscious?
Yes.
And woke.
No, because that has a connotation to it now. That doesn't carry the pure definition anymore. That's more aligned with, I guess the conscious community or whatever. And, it almost has a connotation where you got to be on certain stuff, or you got to be doing certain stuff, or you got to be thinking certain stuff. So no, I don't consider myself to be conscious or woke. And it to me personally, that almost insinuates that I don't have anything else to learn. I know what's going on, and so nothing else can edify me, which is not true. I'm in a constant state of learning. The day you stop learning is the day you need to check out of this bitch, because since when did you know it all? So I'm always in a state of being a student of this world. Learning, evolution is constant. Change is constant. I don't want to get stuck into a particular trap where I gotta be thinking this way all the time with no opportunity to expand thought. So no, I'm not conscious. Am I a sheep? No, but I'm not conscious, quote unquote.
But see, I guess when you say it that way, I'm not conscious, then if we look at just the definition of the words, then it will imply that you're asleep, which I know you're not. We know that for a fact that that's not true. But I'm just saying, as insofar as allowing others to define how you choose to view the word in and of itself, like allowing others to muck up the idea of being conscious or awake to make it seem dirty, either the people that's conscious that's making it seem that way, or the people who are trying to make it that way so that it's less effective to be conscious. Thus, why should I even strive for consciousness? I choose not to allow a person to box me in that way. I know I have a lot to learn. Never once would I ever believe I don't. That's why I say I know enough about a lot of things to be dangerous, but I know none of it at all. But I am damn for sure conscious, and I'm damn for sure awake. And I'm not going to let nobody take that from me. And I'm not going to allow the sins of my brothers and sisters to tarnish me either, making me first doubt myself before I even get it out my mouth. I'm not going to let you do that to me.
And I get what you're saying with that, but that's why I was speaking specifically of the popular context for those terms, rather than pure definition of what is being conscious or what is being awake. I just don't subscribe to being part of, per se, the conscious community per se. But, you know, that's why I said, am I a sheep? No. You know, am I asleep? No. I understand how the world works. I understand enough about it to navigate through it. But there's always levels. There's always a few layers deeper that can go to get an even better understanding of what's going on around you and how those things affect you and the community, whatever community you're a part of. Because we're all a part of some kind of community. You know, I'm a part of the Black community, you know, and even though we're not all homogenous in our thinking and we see things differently, I'm still part of I'm not conscious. I'm part of the Black community. So, you know, the pure definition of the word, am I conscious, meaning am I the opposite of being unconscious? Then, yeah, you have to say that you are. But am I part of the conscious community? No.
Yeah. Era Black TV wrote in the comment section something, if you don't mind me reading it. When I say I'm woke, I mean woke to Black love and racism, white supremacy, and the inner workings of them all. I'm not asleep to this world and how it works and who is working it. Kind of like that. You know, you still got more to learn, but you awake. You see what's going on around you, because that says a lot. So many people who aren't.
Well, I can kind of understand where Kendra's coming from, because I think we have a lot of the internet to blame for this. Because I remember it was on a BGS hangout a couple of months ago. They were arguing about the conscious community. And see, BGS and Cerulean have a completely different idea of it, because they're actually like out in their community putting in work and stuff. But then you have people who come on the internet and will claim that they're conscious or claim that they're like, say, pro-Black and stuff, not knowing the actual meanings of those words, or, you know, why those words were created, and they're just saying it. And, you know, the only thing they really do is make videos on YouTube. They don't really volunteer in the community. They don't mentor anybody. They're not giving anybody any advice on how to, you know, make their lives better or anything. So it's really the internet that's probably the reason why, say, somebody like Kendra would be like, no, I do not consider myself a conscious person, because the quote unquote conscious community on the internet is fucking it up for the rest of the people who are actually, you know, doing the work.
And a lot of it is a damn con. A lot of it is,
unfortunately,
a lot of it is a big ass con. I mean, I consider myself to be conscious of the shit I need to do to live my life. I probably can't give you the whole tenets of Kemet, but goddamn it, I can tell you how to run a business. I couldn't tell you the whole history of Africa, but I can show you how to grow your own food. I can't give you this long soliloquy about who was here first, the Hebrew Israelites or the Moors. Nah, I can't give you none of that shit. Okay. But I can teach you how to do your own freaking taxes. So see, when I talk about I'm conscious about shit, because see, we got to get See, this is what we got to be careful of. We got to be careful of labels, because a lot of people say I'm conscious just to wear that label of, I'm conscious, I wear red, black, and green, I be up at the debate and also kind of nonsense. Okay, a lot of people just want it as a label. Now, mind you, I said earlier, I know a few brothers who claim consciousness, and they talk good shit. Okay, but I also know brothers who label themselves as conscious and they talk a lot of bullshit. Okay, they talk a lot of bullshit that I disagree with. All right, not saying that it's wrong, but I disagree with it, and I let them know as much that I disagree with it. Oftentimes, just like I believe Lady Classic was saying, that this whole consciousness thing has kind of migrated from the black church, because you have these people who get up on stages and stand at podiums and tell you all this stuff, stuff that most of us already know. We already know. They tell you about white supremacy. They tell you about racism. They tell you about how the white man is this and the white man is that. And they talk about how we should be doing this and we should be doing that. They go through the whole spiel. I know. I've been to those debates. I've listened to them. I've watched them on the internet. I've been around them. I know brothers. To be honest with you, though, 80% of the shit that these people talk about, you ain't no better off when you know the shit. You're no better off when you know the shit. And a lot of the shit that they're teaching you, you can go and learn that shit on your own. You don't even have to sit and listen to them, pay $30 to go inside a damn debate and listen to these guys. You don't have to do that, because most of the shit that they tell you a lot of regurgitated information. Information that they've got from people who were the quote unquote conscious 50 years ago, 60 years ago, 70 years ago. So if you go back and you read some of this literature, you'll know the same shit that they know. Okay? Never let anybody feel like they are so capable of teaching you something just because they've read a few more books than you. You know what I'm saying? Because if you got two eyes that can read, you can read those same books, and you might even get more from the book than you will from them. My thing is this, though. When people use the quote unquote consciousness thing to get over on people, beat other black folks out of money, when they come off with the, I'm conscious, so, buy my glass, I'm conscious, so buy my lighters, that kind of shit. I'm conscious, so buy some bullshit that ain't worth shit from me just because I'm conscious. Now that shit I have a problem with, because there's a lot of brothers out there selling a lot of bullshit. You got people selling everything from shit that supposedly make your hair grow and shit that supposedly make you think harder. And most of these people, they ain't chemists, they ain't biologists, they ain't scientists, they ain't none of that shit. They just done put some Kool-Aid in a fucking bottle, okay, with some sugar, and broke up some Flintstone motherfucking vitamins in it. And now they done put a label on that shit, and they selling it to you as some fucking energy drink. So gotta be careful of that bullshit too. Don't be fooled because this motherfucker done read a few books, okay, and he's telling you how conscious he is. Now he done took his damn Kool-Aid and put some damn multivitamins in them and mixed some celery juice in it and got you thinking that he's got this magic elixir that'll solve all your problems and how you fucked up in the game. But let me ask you ladies this. Have you ever seen conscious people who teach the so-called consciousness things, the consciousness diatribe and the consciousness lessons, if you will. Have you ever seen any of those people who talk the consciousness shit? Have you seen hypocritical actions from the so-called conscious teachers that we have, whether it be in person or the internet?
Sometimes. More recently, I saw a situation where, they always talk about don't trust white people, don't trust the system, don't trust police, and all that. And then, as soon as this chick had an issue with her child's father, of course, she's taking him to child support court. So it's like, oh, okay. Don't trust white people in the court system until it affects you personally. Then all of a sudden you want to, drag your child's father through the mud and, try to make it seem like he's a bad father who doesn't come visit his kids, even though he was just at your house visiting the kids. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Well, you got to understand, Lady Cat, consciousness comes with an on and off switch. Okay, it's on when I'm on the internet teaching you shit, but it's off when I'm trying to get child support.
But there's hypocrisy everywhere. This is every group has its group of snake oil salesmen and hypocrites. People point out the hypocrites in the church, or whatever. In Islam, if I was to base whether or not I believed in Allah on the behavior of Muslims, I would hate God. I would. It's just that much fuck shit be going on with people that call themselves Muslims. So there's always a group within a group that's on some fuck shit. That's using it for whatever personal gain, or they trying to make themselves appear a certain way before the public, or they trying to boost their image, or they're using it as a cover, or they're using it as an excuse to do whatever it is that they're trying to do. So there is hypocrisy anywhere. Nothing is free of it, because people, no matter what label they put themselves on, and even if they try to strip themselves of all labels, are going to be up to some fuck shit. This is just the bottom line. It's the human nature. That's the nature of the beast. It is what it is. So yeah, you can look at all the different scandals and all that kind of stuff surrounding this figure or that figure from, within the conscious community or whatever. And you can make of it what you will, whether you believe the rumors or not. This is if you weren't, face to face with it or privy to all the details. Kind of make up your own mind, or whether or not you believe it, or whether or not it was credible or whatever. But it's always going to be some hypocrites somewhere. You can have a perfect system set up, the perfect whatever stuff, and it's always going to be that subsection of people that is going to bastardize whatever it was that was supposed to be good. They using it in a way that it was not meant to be used.
Yeah, can we say 2 words? Umar Johnson. Like the biggest L ever. I mean, he was a prime example. Even though with his antics, him and the damn hotep stripper and all that other bullshit and his posture. Oh my God. Right, the conscious stripper, that's what they was calling her. And all that posturing and posing, arguing with Sarah Suit Seti and answering a phone call from the goons that really wasn't even on the phone, all that stupid shit. But it don't take away from what his message is and what he's saying about these black boys at school. Those are all facts. I think that he is on a money grab with the schools and shit like that. You know, I wouldn't allow him to lead me to the bathroom. I mean, because of because of his duplicitousness, like you talked about earlier, the example you gave earlier, Brother X, about somebody who's just flat out fucking lying. To me, he's just a flat out fucking liar. Um, Somebody that or even fake a phone call like that's so many levels of bullshit to psychoanalyze that it's like, how could you even allow you donate money to this man to do anything? He's never going to accomplish anything but international flights and fucking shaming parties that you pay to get into. But that doesn't make his research and his information bad, because it's not.
Yeah.
As an example.
Well, full disclosure, you know, I'm actually cool with Dr. Umar.
You gonna tell him I said it?
No. But I don't. He knows, because he knows me. I have spoken with Dr. Umar, and you know, me and him, we all right. But I disagree with a lot of the shit that he says and does now. Don't make no mistake. I mean, you know, like you say, I chew the meat, spit out the bones and the fat, as far as Dr. Umar is concerned. But you know, the brother, we are all right. Okay, there's no disgruntlement between me and Dr. Umar. But I say again, I disagree with some of the shit he does, and I do disagree with some of the shit he says. Okay, I don't have to agree with you totally for Xing you to be all right. You know, I just gotta think you're an all right up and up person. Okay, a lot of my friends are bullshit artists, but you know, far as
but you know, so how did you? Okay, real quick, y'all, we gonna have a little hood moment for a minute. That phone call. How could you explain that away and then still say he's a good, all right guy? You know what
Real
I mean?
nigga moment
Like,
right here.
No,
the phone call.
I believe
For me, that was the linchpin. Like I told my brother, because he trying to take it up, and this is what I said. If it was a nigga on the street in our old hood that acted like he was getting a phone call and the motherfucker rang while he was talking, we would still be talking about his ass to this day. But you gonna give Dr. Umar a pass? Like, hell no. That's all type of character flaws happen in like 10 seconds.
I'm not giving him a pass. What I admire more about Brother Umar than anything else is his intelligence.
Yes. He's a great orator too.
His speaking ability. Those are the two things I admire about him. But I don't know what his intent is. I'm still on the fence about the school and everything else. But I say this all the time. I think Dr. Umar's a brilliant man. I think he's brilliant. He's probably one of the most brilliant amongst us. You know, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. But I say again, I disagree with some of his words. I disagree with some of his actions. I disagree with some of the things that he's done. Being who he is, I disagree with some of the things that he's done. But it doesn't take away from his brilliance, which
not at all.
What I respect about him the most.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I've defended Dr. Umar in the past. I've made videos where I actually defended the brother. So, you know, I mean, we all have our faults, but I say again, I mean, I think he's a brilliant man, but some of the shit he do and say, I disagree with. That's it. But I'm still cool with him though. I mean, I don't have a problem with him, you know, and I gave money to his school too. Okay, I did donate a few dollars, but it is what it is. I guess you wanna answer Lady Classic?
Yes, please. And you know, just a tiny bit just to respond there, because my issue with Dr. Umar was this. I mean, I never took to him when I discovered Black YouTube last year. I heard a few videos and I bounced out of there real quick. It wasn't for me. My issue with Dr. Umar is that our community already had enough of a distrust and a lack of knowledge and understanding regarding psychiatric issues, you know, psychological treatment, diagnosis, and help. And what really irks me is that man is a brilliant man and a great orator, and he had the power to use that for good in order to educate our community regarding what's the difference between his PhD and having a doctorate in psychology, as a researcher, as basically someone who has the knowledge of a doctor versus someone who has a master's and several masters, and therefore is a specialist in particular things. For example, a school psychologist. To be a school psychologist, you get a master's. To be a lot of different types of psychologists, you get a master's. He could have easily educated the community, and you know what? He would have been trusted, and because he is intelligent, because he is that brilliant, he could have done so much. And to me, what he did and the way he roundabout kind of made it seem like by not correcting people, and the way he wrote things on his website made it seem like he is a clinical doctor of psychology. To me, to have that disproven, and to have our community face that, trust him so much, and to have that fall, that really irritates me, because I really think that set back a faction of our community back a lot when it comes to trusting the research, trusting the psychology, trusting that psychologists and diagnoses and whatever can actually help from our own community. Maybe those people are trying to stigmatize our children, but you know what, we can come in and we can help. And you know what, I just feel like he did a lot of damage there. And that's my major issue with Dr. Umar. In regards to the question, though, I really agree with Kendra. I think it's something that I was alluding to, basically, which is that, again, whether it's the church or the conscious community or whatever other religion, and whatever the reasons why we see other religions, other communities of people who can build and actually be strong around a church, but we can't. I was just like a destructive force. Isn't because of church. It isn't because of Christianity. It is because of our community. And so at the end of the day, the hypocrisy, the backbiting, the lying, the con artists, all of that is coming from within our community. And we, in essence, are destroying or corrupting things that could be good forces for us. And so it's kind of like when you have a person who is broken from the inside, and it doesn't matter how many people come and try to help them. It doesn't matter how many good things you give that person. It doesn't matter how many chances you give them. They're going to keep destroying those things around them until they kind of heal that broken pit that's inside of them. And I think that when it comes to all of these different movements, we're going to keep seeing they're going to continue being destructive forces to our community, because we have that black kind of broken pit in the middle of us that's creating us this fracturing within. And until that gets resolved, none of these types of movements, none of these things called consciousness or wokeness or whatever is going to actually bring any type of unity and real help and change in our community.
I agree. Because I don't believe that a lot of this shit that we talk about heals black people. Because let us be clear, our black asses need some healing. Okay, we need some healing, black folks. And if you don't understand that, you don't understand anything. We need some healing. And I don't think that any of these things heal black people. I believe that reality will heal black folks. Let me say that again, y'all, just in case you didn't hear me. I believe reality will heal black folks, not pathology, not fantasy, not being aware of Kemet, not taking a trip to Africa and looking at old slave quarters. I don't believe any of that shit is going to heal black people. Will it give black people insight and experience? Of course. Will it give black people karma to walk through old slave quarters in South Carolina somewhere? Of course. but that shit isn't going to heal black people. It's just not. It's not. What is going to heal black people is reality. And the biggest problem with reality healing black folks is that oftentimes perception is reality. Right? Now, when we see the so-called conscious people or a conscious person, is our perception of this person knows more about blackness, this person knows more about Africa, this person's read more books, this person is more aware of white supremacy, this person is more black, they're blacker than the rest of us. And oftentimes, I know I've seen it, I don't know about anybody else, oftentimes these so-called factions, these factions of consciousness, I call them, they have a tendency to show particular prejudices against other black folks who are the quote-unquote unconscious, if you will, because the so-called conscious, which is a complete out of context way to be, because if you're quote unquote conscious the way they label it, okay, if you're quote unquote conscious, that means that you should be accepting of all people that are black like you, because conscious is based in blackness. At least that's what I thought. I thought consciousness was based in blackness and in Africa, and you know how we all should be monolithic around this one way of thinking, this progression of black folks and all that kind of stuff. But certain factions, they are actually prejudiced against people who aren't so-called conscious or have the conscious label. I'm gonna give y'all a prime example because I felt it myself. When I was working in the booth, right? When I was doing radio, working for Nubia Hood Radio, had a talk show just like now. And I was scout for guests, and I had many guests that I scout for ask me on the phone or ask me in a text or in an email, yo, bro, you conscious? Because if you ain't conscious, I can't come on your show. And I thought about it and I was like, you know what? If a fucking person is saying that, maybe I don't want them on my fucking show anyway. So those people never made their way to the air, okay? Because if you're a person who automatically says something like that, if you say, oh man, you're not conscious, so I can't, that lets me know right then and there that that so-called quote unquote consciousness that you talk about, you're a walking damn contradiction of it, okay? Because see, conscious means aware. That means you're aware of a lot of shit. You're not just aware of the shit that interests you. You're not just aware of the books you read. You're not just aware of the people who think like you. You're aware of all things. So for you to put yourself in a box or put other people in a box, are you truly conscious? Okay. And I think that's where a lot of mistakes are made, because see, we put these certain kind of, like Lady Kendra said, we put these connotations on it. Okay. See, you're not conscious because you haven't read this book, this book, this book. You haven't came to this debate. You don't talk to these people. You're not cool with these people. So you're not conscious. That's stupid, because who's deciding? Who's the decider? Who says whether or not you're conscious or not? Who says? Who decides? Where's the bar? Where's the bar? Where does the bar exist for this so-called consciousness? How many books do I have to read? How many debates do I have to go to? Okay. How much Kemet do I have to talk?
Is there a training program?
Yes, I mean that's where the problems come in, and I think a lot of times, I will say this again, we get caught up in these damn titles about what we are, who we are, and what we're doing, and when it all comes down to it, most of us ain't nothing but a bunch of black ass Negroes trying to survive in this here country. All right, that's what we should be calling ourselves. Black ass Negroes trying to survive. Let me ask you, ladies, this. Have you ladies ever interacted with the so-called conscious brothers? Have you ever dated so-called conscious brother?
I think I had a Hotep guy come to my job one time a couple of years back, and he called me a queen mother something. I don't like to tell the story because Jay Shine keeps bothering me about it, but yeah, he the dude complimented me, but you know, I thought it was weird because all I did was bag his groceries, and he was calling me a queen. Like, okay.
Yeah, I can see the awkwardness. Yeah, and I find that stuff weird. I find it really weird when people say that to me, even written in the text, like, hello, queen. And I'm like, no, definitely not. I mean, but thanks though. I can't take that stuff seriously. And if I know for sure you're taking it seriously, I just feel awkward. I wouldn't be able to date someone who's conscious, especially to that level. It's too much for me. I don't feel like it's really truly grounded in enough consistency. Again, we're talking about hypocrisy, and whatever, hypocrisy is like one of my top 10 least favorite things on the planet. And it's not grounded in enough logic for me, again, on a consistent enough basis. So I don't even think I couldn't really even be very close friends with someone who was on that conscious level. We could be cool and everything. I don't have any ill will against the conscious community or people who are. I've just found in general, I can't and don't vibe with them for those reasons.
You know, I'm in Chicago, so I know a lot of conscious people. You know, it's conscious people all around. Out selling the final call and all that kind of stuff. I went to high school in Hyde Park, especially in the 90s, where a lot of people in that area want to consider themselves to be the woke, you know, black folks or whatever. First time I had ever heard about vegan shampoo and shit like that. So people listening to Far Side and wearing dreadlocks before it was even, well, I guess back then in the 90s too, it was popular, but you get the drift I'm trying to say. But as far as dating someone, I've dated people with a superficial level of consciousness, people that wear red, black, and green, smoke weed all day, burn incense with dreadlocks, you know, that bullshit, but not really deep enough, shallow as they could be, but not nobody really that damn deep. Because people that be on that deep level, like they eat, breathe that shit. Like it's so deep. It's like, you know, that's all they think about. It's nowhere else. And they're so strong and opinionated in their beliefs and stuff. And there's no room for error or debate, especially if they feel that you're not on that level and all that type of stuff, you know? So no, I haven't. And quite honestly, I probably wouldn't even be interested in doing so. That's it.
Lady Kendra?
No, never dated nobody that identified themselves as conscious, and very little interaction with the so-called conscious community. I couldn't even tell you in Chicago where you might find a concentration of people who align themselves as the conscious community. That's how out of touch I am.
Hyde Park,
No,
they all up and through there, girl.
probably all are up and through Hyde Park.
Yeah, East
They
Side.
probably are.
where the mosque is, right over there on 79th Street. You'll see them
Yeah.
outside selling the final calls and bean pies and stuff like that.
Now them bean pies over on 79 for Tony be rocking, so I ain't
Yeah.
gonna trip. Them bean pies be on point though, nigga. Like what?
Well, it's I mean, with some of the brothers, okay, with some of the brothers who wear the conscious moniker. I mean, a lot of them, they walk around and they call you queen and empress and prophetess and fairy and dragon and elf and dwarf and all this kind of bullshit. They do that shit to kind of soften the women up. A lot of times when they run in that shit, it's just a pussy grab. They want to soften the women up. They call them queen. They call them queen mother. Like I said, they call them fairy, dwarf, elf, dragon, whatever the hell they think they can call them to kind of open the door. Because a lot of times it's a pussy grab and it's a money grab too. Why? Because one thing about our women, they don't have problems reaching in their pocketbook, giving a motherfucker they like money. That's just who our women are. I talk to y'all about, how we stand outside the store and freaking the sisters will give this motherfucker standing in front of the store. Every sister that come by, give him $5. So it's easy for these brothers to get in front of the sisters and, talk this conscious shit and tell you how you a queen and, how life started out of your wound and shit like that, and give me $5, and y'all women will go right ahead and give it to the motherfucker. Y'all are going right ahead and give it to that motherfucker. So a lot of times it's a money grab and it's a pussy grab going along with it. Now, with the women, I happen to think it's a little bit different. I think that a lot of them, maybe not all of them, because I got a few quote unquote, Hotep subscribers that subscribe to me, donate to me and shit like that. They Hotep women. I believe a lot of times with many of them, they are doing it the same way they are claiming the whole I'm a queen, I'm an empress. They're the exact opposite of the guys who call them that shit. I'm a queen, I'm an empress, I'm a witch doctor, I'm a fairy, I'm a dragon, I'm a voodoo priestess, I'm all this kind of bullshit. So I think a lot of those women gravitate to that so that they can put a label on themselves so they can kind of get away from the reality of being a baby mama 6 times over. They can get away from the reality that, they done had multiple failed relationships and still ain't got no damn body. So if they can say, well, I'm a queen, I'm an empress, I'm an elf, I'm a fairy, it makes it seem like, it's not them, it's everyone else. I think that has a lot to do. And I could be wrong, my email is on this YouTube page. If I'm wrong, you can always email me and I'll retract my statements. But that's what I believe. I believe that a lot of the conscious talk, and like I say, I mean, a lot of it is good shit. A lot of them talk real good things. It's just that my thing with the so-called conscious folks is that they don't tell people enough life skill shit. They don't talk about money. They don't talk too much about child rearing. They don't talk a lot about marriage, family. They don't talk about growing your own food, starting your own business. They don't talk about that shit. It's like all they want to do is isolate you and tell you how horrible the white man is. That's like most of them, that's what they want to do. They want to tell you how horrible the white man is, which all of us already know. So if that's the basis of your teaching of consciousness, we don't need you, brother, because we already know. Yeah, we're well aware of how bad the white man is. Yeah, we don't need you to stand on a podium and pay your ass $40 to get inside this bullshit ass banquet hall that y'all rented. Well, I don't need to pay you $40 and come sitting here with these other 200 people for you to tell me how terrible white folks are, how terrible these people are, how terrible these other people. I don't need you to do that, man. I don't need you to do that. I could probably go along with the so-called conscious people more. Okay. I could go along with them more if I heard more shit that was actually beneficial to black folks. Because to be honest with you, I feel like a lot of the shit they talk about doesn't benefit black people worth a shit. To be honest, I just don't think a lot of it does. I mean, you have a little bit that does, but a lot of the shit that I hear, maybe I'm listening to the wrong people. But a lot of the shit that I hear from these so-called conscious men and these conscious women, that shit ain't benefit nobody. It's benefiting them because people are sending them damn money for their bullshit jewelry and they dumbass pottery and they stupid ass books. It's benefiting, yeah, it's benefiting them. Yeah, it's benefiting them.
They dumbass pottery.
Yeah, they fucking pottery.
Stupid ass books.
Yeah,
they funky ass incense.
Bullshit ass incense and soaps and shit. Yeah, it's benefiting them, but how is
ain't shit for that?
How is it benefiting you? Seriously. How is it?
Because it's like that's like the profile. If you was a profiler, it's like, yep, Hotep.
Yeah, Hotep. Hotep my ass. Get out of here with that shit, man. I don't want to buy none of your bullshit soap. Okay.
If I'm
gonna buy your soap, if you selling soap and I'm buying your soap because you're a black man. I'm not buying your soap because you done stood up here and talked to me 20 minutes about fucking Kemet, man. I'm not buying your soap because of that. I'm buying your soap because I want to support a black man's business. I don't give a fuck how much you stand up there and tell me about Kemet and the Moors and the Hebrews. I don't give a hell. I don't give a damn about that shit, man. Because when I walk away from you, I ain't gonna be no better off by listening to some of that shit. I'm not gonna be any better off. I'm just not. So, I mean, it is what it is. It is what it is. I'm just saying. I mean, in all honesty, man, I think if we had more people inside the black collective that was actually standing on these podiums, you know, where they charge people $20 and $30 and $40 to get in into this banquet hall, you would think that there would be more teaching of people shit. Okay, more teaching people about teaching people social skills, civil skills, you know, learning skills. I think about my man Q Butter from Brooklyn. He could be considered conscious, but guess what else he's doing? Okay, this man started a school. Okay, he has his own school inside his building. I mean, he gives brothers freaking discount rates on studio time. If they black asses want to learn how to rap, he'll bring you up into his other studio and give you a photo shoot. I mean, he looks out for black folks. He looks out for black folks. Teaches credit repair for free. Teaches people children for free. And I don't mean bullshit. You know, STEM. You know, science, technology, engineering, mathematics. He's teaching them that shit. Now, if you talking conscious and you like my man Q Butter, there you go. I can go along with your conscious shit. But if you just want to stand in front of a damn banquet hall and one guy's debating how Moors know more and another guy's debating how fucking the Jews know more, why am I here? Why the fuck am I here? What am I getting for my $40 that I paid to get up in here? What am I getting? Except you two dudes arguing, damn near fighting, and on the way out the door, you trying to sell me homemade jewelry that you done made out of fucking copper wire. You're trying to sell me a bullshit book that ain't even published for real. You made that shit like in your house. And you're trying to sell me some old bullshit juice that ain't nothing but goddamn great Kool-Aid with goddamn Flintstone vitamins grinded and then some damn celery juice. So,
but to be honest, that copper jewelry though has healing powers though.
Yeah, but you don't.
Copper does.
Need it from them.
You don't need it from them, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that there is still good information being put forth. I mean, it might be a one and done, meaning that you get filled up, you get a lot of reference points or book recommendations, and then you start your independent research from there. It's a lot of good information. There's nothing wrong with information. There's nothing wrong with giving information, but I am in agreement with you that some of those people need to be taking the football a little further than just that. Everybody has a purpose and a position to play. Everybody is not going to be the one who makes the action plans or see those action plans through. You do have people that are just historians or educators and so on and so forth, and it's okay. But to your point, overall, generally speaking, they don't do enough for it to be so many and for them to be so in your face about it. I agree with that. But but I don't think that those types of meetings don't have value. I do think there is value in it, especially for somebody who's on the information seeking mission. It's nothing wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with them disseminating information. I really don't. My my biggest problem with the so-called conscious people is they have a tendency to mislead folks who don't have the ability to kind of disseminate the bullshit, and I think that those are their main targets when they go out there and they talking whatever they talking. I think they're targets. I think a lot of their targets are the people who really don't know better, who can be easily led, have them sending them $400 and $500 for shit that ain't worth nothing, telling people that
But
they change their life and also kind of bullshit, and they send them some bullshit book for like $500 that does nothing. That kind of shit is just ridiculous to me. It's just ridiculous.
But those are the workings of a con artist, because what does a con artist doesn't work on people who know enough to either ask the right questions, or I know more than you about that subject so I can suss out the bullshit. You know what I'm saying? I know what part is actually real and what part you kind of pulling out of your ass. So you prey on those who are undereducated. A lot of people, especially Black people, are swayed by when somebody comes to them and talks to them in a way that they may have never heard before, or it appears as though they are giving them information that they have never come across, and it sounds interesting. And because many of us are undereducated, you're right, we don't have enough knowledge about A, B, and C to even ask the right question, or to even question it really, because it's like, well, I don't know anything about it. How am I going to challenge somebody? That's just like somebody coming to me and breaking down nuclear physics. I don't know nothing about nuclear physics. So it's like, if you tell me, well, this equation and this formula is this, okay, I don't have enough information in my back pocket to be suspect about it. Like, that don't quite sound right, because I have no idea. So I have to go to somebody else to see what they're saying. And then I got to get a little bit knowledge of physics, at least the basics of physics, so you get somebody that's scratching their head, like, I don't know what you're talking about, but it sounds like you know what you're talking about. And then that's how people get roped in, what I'm saying, into sending them a drink that supposedly supposed to heal their whole body, what I'm saying? And niggas think that a drink heal your body if it's bitter. Let's keep it a buck. If a drink is like bitter and it's kind of nasty, we be like, yeah, it's gotta work. It's gotta be doing
right. The nastier the better. Yep. Same thing in Bush, Jamaica. Same thing. The nastier it tastes, the better it's gonna make you feel tomorrow.
I mean, there gotta be some sort of trade-off,
right? But you know what though? At the same time, and this is the thing. We have been bred into this concept, so much guilt and shame. So if we don't know something and someone says a couple words that we know are school words, we don't know them, we don't understand them because we've always been done with words or whatever it is. We feel guilt that, and shame. We feel guilty, almost like they caught us red-handed. We're not smart enough to be here. And you know what? The thing is that that is something we need to teach, because maybe if you're not that bright, maybe you never went to school and whatever, maybe you stayed damn near illiterate your whole life. But what you can do is you can teach the younger generation that not knowing is not shameful. Staying ignorant when you have the opportunity to ask and gather more knowledge, that you can feel ashamed about, that you were afraid. You were too afraid to open your mouth and say something. And now here's the thing, for someone who can't, quote unquote, dumb it down or put it in layman's terms, so even a literally a 5 or a 6-year-old can kind of understand the gist, that person doesn't understand what the fuck they're talking about either. Because if you really, really understand what you're talking about, I don't care how high level it is, nuclear physics and whatever, you can dumb it down enough that anybody can understand it. So if you can't do that, if the person you're saying, listen, I don't understand, they explain it's still complicated, say, okay, no, talk to me like I'm 7. If they can't do that, they don't understand either. But you know what? No one has ever below their level called them out on it, and so they get to walk around feeling like they are superior and they know more than you. And you know what? It rarely gets challenged again because of this whole guilt and shame factor. And those people who know that much, they feel so proud of themselves for knowing that much that they're scared to ask people who know more than them to explain more than to them. And this is what keeps us in this cycle of ignorance, and in the cycle of knowing just enough that we know just how to self-destruct. We know just how to stay selfish and broken and think that even when we think we're doing one thing, bringing the community together, what we're doing is really destroying it on the other hand, because we're going to fight the great evil of this, but doing that, we're going to destroy ourselves by creating a whole new evil, et cetera, et cetera. It's this cycle. And, you know, I watch this cycle, and at the end of the day, we need to stop thinking to ourselves that anybody is better than us because they have more gained knowledge. They have literally memorized more information in the world. They've been exposed to more information in the world than we have. That doesn't make them better than you. You know what? Everyone, you're never too old to learn new things, and everyone doesn't know something. We need to start approaching everything from that perspective. That is the one thing I like about this concept of woke, because you can become woke at 50 or woke at 60 or whatever age. So you're allowed to start learning new. It's the same thing I like about this whole born again Christian thing, is you are a baby in the church if you find church at 45. So you're allowed to start learning new again. You're allowed to be a complete idiot and ask everybody everything because you don't understand nothing, and study things like you're seeing it for the first time, and that's okay. And we need to approach all of life like that and realize that there's no shame in us starting from the time we're 6 years old. That thing we should have known when we were 6, there's no shame in learning it now and building ourselves up to that point where we have enough knowledge. So that way, if a charlatan comes to us, we know how to reject that. And if someone with something that's promising, I don't quite understand, but I understand enough to know that this might be a good thing, we know how to be able to tell the difference.
I agree. I totally agree. I just, like I said, what bothers me is the so-called conscious bullshit artist. Because like Lady Ming said, there's nothing wrong with, you know, knowing all this information and all that kind of stuff, because you can talk and I can listen to you, or I could, you know, turn you off my damn computer. And if you're standing in front of me talking, I can say, yo, bruh, it's getting late. It's time to go. So, I mean, it's not a big thing. But what often happens with the so-called conscious folks is that, like we said earlier, like Lady Classic was just laying out, they feel superior to other people because they've read 500 books, because they've had many debates in banquet halls, because they sell homemade jewelry and a grape Kool-Aid with one a day vitamins crushed in it and a splash of celery. They feel superior. because they have all of that shit going on. And a lot of these so-called conscious people who talk this conscious shit, man, if you look at some of these people's lives, you would doubt their consciousness. Look, I'll give y'all a prime example. I've known people who run that conscious shit and talk about what they know and the things we should be doing and how we should have our own and be establishing our own life. And guess what? The same conscious ass brother, guess what? I was picking his ass up because he didn't have a car, and I was picking him up from his damn mama's house because he lived in her basement. All right, talking about kingdoms and all this kind of bullshit, something he don't have. A kingdom he does not have, unless the kingdom is mom's cellar. So when you have these people who talk this shit and their lives are totally different from what they're talking, because a lot of these people who claim to be aware of all of this shit, a lot of these dudes, man, they fucking living pillar to post. They living on somebody's freaking couch. They living with their mama and they 45. So what the hell are you really conscious of? Why should I listen to you tell me about how conscious you are about blackness, black folks, black society, black life, and you ain't even conscious enough to have your own damn apartment? You ain't even conscious enough to have your own damn car. You ain't even conscious enough to support yourself. So why
could there be extenuating circumstances though? Just devil's advocate. Just devil's advocate. Could there be?
It's hard for me to listen to you talk about how conscious you are when you're 45 and you live with your mom. It's hard for me to listen to you talk about how conscious you are, especially when you're talking about, oh, we need to be eating natural foods. But every time I turn around, your ass in a bodega buying some bullshit out of there that been sitting in there for 2 months. So,
but you focused on the man, not the information. You can't separate the two.
Well, I can't separate the two. What I can't separate is you calling yourself conscious.
What difference does it make to you?
Doesn't make any difference. It doesn't make any difference to me. It only makes a difference to me when you're trying to push it on me, and you're pushing it on me in a context where I'm better than you because I'm conscious and you're not.
Gotcha. Yeah. That those people are snobbish, conscious snobs. That shit is. I understand that. That grinds my gears too.
Yeah, when you talk that shit, I mean, because you can call yourself whatever you want. I mean, you can call yourself whatever you want, label yourself whatever you want, do whatever you want. But when you try to push it on others, you best be coming correct when you do that shit.
Yeah, right? Like with religion, like y'all keep bringing up the parallel with religion. It's the same way.
You got to have your shit together because, because not only are you so-called teaching and preaching, I mean, you need to be living it. It's just like the pastor who telling you, don't screw around on your wife, be monogamous, have one woman. And meanwhile, he got 3 girls. He got 3 girls in the congregation pregnant. All right. So, you're going to have a hard time listening to this brother because he's telling you, be monogamous, stay with your wife, don't do this, marry before you carry, and all this kind of nonsense. But meanwhile, he's got 3 women in the congregation pregnant that aren't his wife. So we got to.
I understand. I'm sorry. We just have to agree to disagree. I agree on the one hand and I disagree on the other about how important that is even to the conversation. I mean, it's definitely something that needs to be discussed. It's something we need to know about. It's something you need to be able to suss out. It's a level of discernment you need to hone in on and cultivate so that when you're having these conversations, but I do not think that's something that you need to define those interactions by. I just don't.
Well, it's sort of like this. If you go to a school or a university, right? Let's say you want to learn biology or geology. Would you want a biologist teaching you or a geologist teaching you? Or would you rather have a cosmetologist teaching.
In that example, I will prefer the former, definitely not the latter. Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, because I want to learn biology. So if
Mm-hmm.
you're a cosmetologist, why the fuck are you teaching me biology? You're a
Understood.
you're a
Mm-hmm.
cosmetologist. And that's kind of the same thing. When you're pushing it on other people, okay? When you claim to be teaching other people, okay? Just like if you're teaching people science, you need to be a fucking scientist. You need to be a scientist. Okay? You can't teach people science and you're a goddamn street sweeper. You understand? You
But
can't teach people mathematics and you're a fucking a painter. I mean, it just to me that just doesn't
You know,
mesh.
but you know what
I
though?
think
Sorry, Kenton.
okay, go ahead.
If I could just really quickly, it just, you say that, but there are many people, for example, BGS, who's a Gnostic, and he has more information and more understanding of that information in so many subjects than people who have been living and working in those subjects for decades.
And
So,
that's
I
kind of
mean,
my point.
yeah, right. So I get what you're saying, and yes, that is true. But I would evaluate the individual human being because there definitely are some people, like, I'm going to school not to learn a skill that I don't have or learn information I didn't already understand inherently, but so that way legally I can do something that I've been inherently able to do all my life and was certainly, I won't say a master at, but certainly adept at doing by the time I had started this process to get to even college, to university, to get to my bachelor's, to get to my master's, so I could even practice something I already know how to do. So, I mean, am I less adept at doing it without that piece of paper? I kind of see the point.
But I see where X is kind of coming from with it, because at some point, if you're going to be a collective group pushing a certain mindset, agenda, or what have you, at some level, there has to be some accountability to that. Like
Mm-hmm.
you yourself, who is espousing it, has to be accountable to it at
Mhm.
some point, or else you can't really espouse it as something that I should be doing.
Mm-hmm.
You can talk about what you're doing or what you believe, but if you bring something to me saying that, well, you need to live your life this way, or you need to think of things in this particular kind of way, and this is the best thing for you, and this is how you do this, and this is how you do that. Well, I can maybe look at the individual, and maybe that individual who's talking to me doesn't have everything together. But if the whole collective of individuals also does not have anything together, now it casts aspersions on what you're even talking about, and it damages the credibility of what you're saying. Because if I can talk all day to somebody about how they should be Muslim, but if they look at my life
Mhm.
and they say, well, you're not living any of it,
Mhm. Yep.
and how is your life any better than mine? What has what you've got benefited you in a way that
Mm-hmm.
it has benefited me? So
Right.
in this instance, it's not about somebody being perfectly adherent to something, because got to be perfectly adherent to things just because you may believe strongly in them, or you see the benefit of them, and you see how it could benefit others, and you choose to um, inform others of this. You
Mhm.
don't have
Mm-hmm.
to do it, but at some level you do have to be accountable to it,
Mhm.
because if you're going to
Mm-hmm.
uphold it, then at some point you got to do it. You got to do it. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? Because the invitation is not in what you say, is in what you do. And you can't
Yeah.
really, the leaders that we pick, they can't, we side eye leaders, for example, who sort of do as I say and not as I do. kind of
Right.
thing, especially
Yeah, I said that
talking about
earlier.
spiritual leaders.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm saying that this is the best way, and it may be. It may
Mm-hmm.
actually be.
Mm.
But the same token, if you're going to be a spiritual leader or whatever, you know what I'm saying, of a group, you have to be leading by example also. Or if you're not capable of leading by example, then you need not be in the lead position. It's
Right.
fine
I
if
agree with
you lead,
that.
but you have to step back from the leadership positioning at that point.
And
Mm.
I just want to go on the record as saying for those listening now and those who may listen later that I'm 100% in agreement with all of that. 110% if that's even possible. I totally agree with that, especially when you just said then you need not be in the front because that's the problem. We'll pick apart the person in the front and then that is just all of a sudden now nothing you says makes any sense because we've picked you apart as a person. But I want to take it a little beyond that to the solution, and that's my whole point is about being mired down in the minutia of the details that really are inconsequential to what the teachings are and what the end result should be. Unfortunately, they never talk about the end result. They just keep spouting out all these information as if they're robots or whatever because they've memorized something and they're able to articulate it without no actually clear definitive plan on where this information is supposed to take us. So we are missing that, and I know, but we'll never get to that because we're still worried about the vessel in which the information is being delivered by. Now, I'm not the type of person who idolizes anybody. It's real hard for me to even sit up and name a role model, real talk, because I understand that there is a human side to people and nobody is perfect.
Right.
So it's really hard to say there are people I look up to, of course, and whose information I trust, but that's very few. It's really, really very few. And it's not because I think I'm the end all be all. It's because I understand human nature. And I also understand me being accountable for what I believe and what I do at the end of the day. Be damned what you told me. Good, bad, or indifferent. So I take the ball, I run with it, I do my research, I go down the rabbit hole so I can talk intelligently about it or at least be able to shut up and follow you when you're talking. You know what I'm saying? So I think that if we continuously talk about the vessels, then we take the onus off of us and we also take off the pressure of what to do next. We never have to get to next because we still at the start talking about the dude who said it on the street corner, which honestly is really just not that damn important, especially if the information is worth having. Now, if it's lies and bullshit, that's one thing, but if it's good information, take it and then grow it. And then do something with it. But we don't get there because we're still stuck back there. I guess that's all I'm trying to say. And I 100% believe that part of the reason we're stuck back there is because people don't live by example. That's true.
Well, I'm going to talk. I'm going to talk about you, your vessel, Lady May. Now, you talk, all right, and you talk very passionately and intelligently, and you articulate your points of view crystal clear without saying I'm conscious, without any of that,
Right.
without any of that. So why, my question is this: why does it have to be a label? Why do you have to wear a label?
That's a societal construct, though,
person,
brother.
To say you're a person who knows some shit.
Because we've required it. I'm sorry, we live in a society where labels are required. If it's not labeled, we don't know what the fuck to do with it. We don't understand it. So in order for us to be able to understand it and break it down in a small enough way for our simple-minded asses to get, we have to put a label on it because then it's like an aha moment. People fear what they don't understand and they label what they do. It's just the same thing. That's what I think about it. And I do, and I don't subscribe to the labels, but if I had to put a label, and that's why I gave up earlier when I said, well, if the opposite of conscious is not being awake or being asleep or unaware, if I have to pick and choose, then yes, I'm conscious and I'm awake because I understand that there's more going on than what I see before my eyes. Sometimes that's all you need to get to the next level and to be awake, because people are so fucking asleep. They're in hibernation right now. Like straight up hibernation.
Well, and I think too, the thing is, first of all, we are herd animals. So we, in and of ourselves, we don't function well as lone wolves, as individuals. Even lone wolves tend to gather with other lone wolves. So I think that's the first thing. I think the second thing is that we look for belongingness. So it's more than just having another warm body sitting next to you for protection, for survival, for whatever. We literally look for belongingness and for mutual understanding in other people, someone who sees what you saw, who understands what you understand. And so I think what ends up happening invariably is there are a bunch of people who are disillusioned with the world around them. So say 1 out of 50 right now are disillusioned with the world around them, with, the wokeness that they have now and whatever. And one person is going to stand up and they're going to say, guys, I have the answer. And these people who are disillusioned here are going to hear some things that they relate to, and they're going to go find belongingness somewhere else, somewhere that they feel that they are being seen and heard and understood, and they're finally in a group that understands them. We're going to put all of our work into this common goal. We're going to grow. Everyone's going to convert over here because we have the truth. We have the understanding. We have the way, right? This is how they've gotten so many young, idealistic, impressionable people into Black Lives Matter. Because you know what? Sure, we all know the corruption that is Black Lives Matter today. But you know what? There's a whole bunch of very young, maybe teens to early 20s, people joining Black Lives Matter because on the surface, they want to fight for that cause. And they think that, oh my God, I'm fighting for Black Lives Matter versus All Lives Matter. I'm fighting for Black Lives Matter versus Blue Lives Matter. And they believe in that surface cause. And so they want to go and they want to join that label. I'm part of Black Lives Matter. I'm part of feminism. Why? Because women deserve equality. That's absolutely true. But, it's like, you're not looking at the politics. You're not looking at things deeper and whatever. And again, it's that naivety. It's that innocence that people walk into these situations because they need belonging and they feel something is wrong with the way things currently are. And I think that, we're always looking for the answer. And I think to some extent, we're also always looking for the grass that's greener over there. I thought I had an answer here. This answer doesn't look pretty anymore. Let me go find an answer elsewhere.
I agree. Totally. You want to chime in on this, Lady Cats?
Man, I forgot the question. Oh.
Just flow with the conversation.
Yeah,
okay,
say whatever you want.
Okay, so with what Ming was saying, I do agree about the thing about labels. I think you got a lot of people who say, well, I don't like labels and all that. The thing is, labels they come with certain definitions and connotations, and I think the only reason why certain people don't like certain labels is because the labels aren't that great. Going back to what I was saying earlier about consciousness and people saying they're woke and stuff. The thing is, when you look on, say, Facebook or Twitter or something, you'll have somebody say that they're conscious or they're woke. And, on one hand, they're quoting somebody from the Black community, maybe Malcolm X, Dr. Martin Luther King or somebody or something. But then right after, they have a pork video or something. So I think the reason why a lot of people distance themselves from that is because of how people portray themselves, and they've basically taken what the original movements were supposed to be, and they've redefined it for what they want on the internet. And see, the thing is, it's kind of what I've noticed since President Obama's last couple of years in office, and then when President Trump got elected, I've noticed that a lot of Black people are just kind of treating it like a trend. So that might be another reason why some have backed away from it, because it's like a lot of people aren't really being sincere out here. They're just, doing the whole conscious thing because they think it'll, I don't know, I think they might think they need Black people. They need each other more, but when President Obama was in office, everybody was like, "Oh, I want to be an individual. I want to be this. I want to be that. Forget the rest of you Negroes and stuff." So I think people are just kind of treating it like a trend nowadays. That's
Yeah, well, consciousness is complex. Consciousness is complex. And what else y'all need to be damn conscious of? Y'all need to get conscious of this here, right here. See that about right there somewhere, y'all? About right there. That's the old Streamlabs tab. If you're feeling generous, because sometimes my subscribers feel a little generous, drop a few coins in the bucket. It's appreciated. And also, you might want to be dropping some likes in this here area right here. You see, right under these lovely ladies' photos that you're looking at right now, right underneath there. See, there's one that goes like this. All right? That's the one you want to hit. The one that goes like this. Come on, we're going to do it again. I know I haven't did this with y'all in a while, so I'm willing to do it with you again. Now I want you to take that hand nice and slow and move it over with that mouse. Bring it over nice and slow. Get it right over that like button and click. And you're done. See how easy that was? Now, see how easy that was? It's also easy to drop a few coins in this here Streamlab link, if you don't mind. It's greatly appreciated. I sit here and I listen to you ladies talk about consciousness and the conscious folks and the conscious message. And a lot of the stuff that I've listened to you four ladies say tonight on this T.L.O.T broadcast, I would never hear some of this shit if I had four so-called hotep women on here. You think they'd be talking about the shit y'all are talking about? They wouldn't. They
Probably
wouldn't.
not from the same angle.
No, they'd be talking some old craziness that wouldn't see what goes on here. You're listening to these ladies here. See these ladies here on my panel, y'all. If you listen to what these ladies say, your black ass might just learn something. All right? You might just learn something from these ladies here. If I had four so-called hoteppers, okay, and a lot of them is just hoe heifers, if I had them up here, would nobody be learning shit, okay? They'd be talking about themselves. They'd be talking about how, because I've talked to them. I know a few of them now. Yeah, I know a few of the so-called conscious hotep women. Tell you what they talk about, most of them. Their fucking selves, okay? How magical they are. How they're a fucking empress, priestess, goddess. They talk about the ancestors and all this kind of spiritual, magical bullshit that does nothing for anyone's life, including theirs. See, that's the problem with the so-called consciousness shit. When you are espousing many, many different words and terms and ideologies and pathologies that not only do they not help other people, they don't fucking help you. they don't help you either. So my question is this: have we, or should I say, have some of us substituted the so-called conscious, whatever you want to call it, the conscious rhetoric, the conscious history, the conscious facts, or even the conscious mumbo jumbo? Have some of us substituted that shit for our own Black reality? Have we substituted the consciousness thing for the reality that we may not want to face?
I always like to say, Black people, we like to be entertained a lot. So there is definitely something to that. Because, like, even with people who go to church on Sunday, you know, what do they talk about after the church? They talk about gossip. They talk about how good the choir sounded. They might talk about how good the preacher preached, or really when they talk about his preaching, they're not talking about like what lesson he actually taught. They're basically whether or not his preaching got them tingling in their spine or something. Like, and I remember one time I was watching a video, I think it was Bitter Truth or something. He was talking about Dr. Khalid Muhammad, and how when he had a conversation with that man, he said the reason why when he would have his meetings and stuff, the reason why he would move the way he moved and talk the way he talked was basically to kind of emulate a Black preacher, because they know how Black people are. Black people like the animated movements. They like the talking, like talking in a certain very like passionate way, and yeah, just being like very animated and stuff. So yeah, I think there's something to that.
I think that some people probably do use it as a substitution. But I think that it really should be more of an inclusion. I think that when you look at life, it's like a mosaic, and there's a lot of different pieces and colors all intertwined within it, and you would be in yourself a disservice to exclude any piece of it. One, because you don't like the paint can that came in, or two, because you don't understand the language on the paint can. So fuck it. I don't care that the color is beautiful and it goes in the mosaic, but I don't understand the writing on the paint can, and I don't even like the shape of the paint can, so I'm just not going to get the paint. That's where I think it gets ridiculous. It still needs to be included, especially if you consider yourself to be conscious or woke, with or without labels. You can't just forego the information. That's ridiculous. That's like retarded, because it is valuable information. Now you do with it what you will, based off the purpose your soul chose to have when it came down here. It's up to you. But again, I'm getting a little deeper on some other stuff, but that's just the way I believe about it.
Next.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question, please? I can't quite remember what it was.
Do you believe that many of us have substituted the quote unquote consciousness for Black reality that we don't want to face? Have we substituted the so-called consciousness idealism for reality?
You know what? I wouldn't say that. And the reason why is because for you to become conscious or woke, you have to first accept the fact that reality in and of itself is fractured and is not what you were born and raised thinking it was, I guess, ultimately. And it would have to be, it's kind of like, as they say, the nigga moment that people experience, where someone shakes you into reality and lets you know, like, nope, you are never gonna get to be one of them, basically. So this world, this whole entire country was created with all these opportunities and all these wonderful things, and all these, the sky is the limit, you know, are being set, and that doesn't apply to you. And I think it's a moment where you wake up to that concept. So I don't think that, you know, you're substituting consciousness for reality in that way. However, what I think it does is it, I won't say prevents you. In this case, yes, it's substituting, though, looking for an actual reasonable solution to the problem. Why would you bother trying to resolve a problem when you can walk around dreaming? It's the concept of the people who continue to play lotto for $50 or $100 every single week, rather than just saving that money, because, you know, they want this dream of one day they're going to win $50 million, rather than just when they get to retirement age, they'll have a really beautiful nest egg. And, you know, all they got to do is just put that money aside. I think it's the same concept. You know, the diaspora, for example, only the Western world really cares, in the African diaspora, or diaspora, however you want to pronounce it. It's, I mean, when you go to even like the islands, you go to Africa. I was talking about the African diaspora, and this is where, you know, Wakanda pointed that out. You know, these countries in Africa think of themselves as individuals. Just because you share my skin color, you know, versus say those people over there on the European continent, doesn't mean that we are the same. We are different countries. These are my people. Everyone isn't my people. But, you know, that's that ethnocentricity that the Western world is full of, where we think that the way we think and the way we process things is better than everyone else, and everyone should think like us, and so therefore everyone does think like us. So all we've got to do is decide that we need to go back to Africa, and Africa needs to accommodate us, and everybody wants us back in Africa anyway, and then hey, it's just going to work. And then that way you don't have to actually come up with a problem, a solution to the problem of, for example, rezoning of your schools. You don't have to come up with the solution to the problem of implicit racism. You don't have to come up with the solution to the problem of the lack of Black unity, which would never allow you to come together anyway as a group to immigrate to anywhere. So I think that is more what, if anything, this consciousness and this wokeness is allowing you to do. It's allowing you to fight foolishness and focus on unrealistic dreams, rather than actually fighting the real wars that you have at your doorstep, and trying to actually fight, number one, to become a unified front and to organize together, so that way you can fight the very real problems that you're going to face until you die, because your magical, conscious, woke dreams are not going to become a reality.
I think there are those in the conscious community that have simply excuse me, taken on a label for the sense of belonging to somewhere. Because as a people, we've been so disenfranchised. We want to belong somewhere, whether that's a good place, a bad place, or an indifferent place. But have they substituted it for their own kind of fantasy, I guess you would say? To some extent, yeah. You know, if you have a guy who can talk consciousness, this and that all day, but he doesn't pay for anywhere that he lives. He actually lives off people. And when you ask him what's going on, well, I don't want to work for the white man and this, that, and the third. And that's fine. That's awesome. But if you don't want to work and clock in to the white man, you have to do something. But you aren't doing anything. But you will tell me that you're a king and that you know this and that, and that you're aware of this, that, and the third. But it's like, be aware of some rent somewhere. You don't want to work for the white man, but it's perfectly fine if the person you're living off of works for the white man and actually feeds you
That's
and
fact.
houses you with that white man money that you hate so much
Hmm.
that you won't go get
Polite.
it. And
I'm
be
just
quiet.
saying.
Um, for the women, I'm a queen and I'm an empress and this and that. And if I just tell myself that, I can have a false sense of importance, which will sort of negate the fact that, I kind of ain't been shit for all my life or whatever. Like, I'm kind of not shit. And because there's a reason, I just want to divert a little bit. There's a reason why ladies like us actually are uncomfortable being called queen and this and that. And the reason we're uncomfortable with it is because first, we know that it's disingenuous when it's said. Number two, we already know who we are. So we don't need some other label that doesn't really apply to who we actually are to be said to us to make us feel better about ourselves. It's not necessary. Notice on the only women who really actually call themselves queens are the ones who act the furthest from any queenly behavior. And so I do think to a certain degree, yeah, they take it and use it as a crutch and an excuse to continue fuckery rather than use any knowledge that they may gain in order to actually better themselves, even if they're not capable of leading a community. Because everybody's not capable of that. Everybody is not capable of galvanizing people or motivating people. Sometimes you can just do it for yourself, and that's the best that you can do. But when they use it as an excuse to not even do that much, like because the guy that I'm referencing, I know that guy. Like that's just not like a fake guy. Like I know a guy that does that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, and he's like 56. Like he's been doing this shit for like the last 30 years. He doesn't want to work for the white man, blah, blah, blah. He got a lot of shit that he can tell you. But at the end of all of that, he goes from pillar to post. You know what I'm saying? He's not paid a month of rent in quite a few years. you know? So yeah, people do kind of take it and use it as a crutch and an excuse rather than propel themselves to something positive.
Well, we coming to the end of the show, and I wanna ask you ladies something. Just one last question. Black folks, black society, better off with conscious people in it or with conscious people out of it?
I'm going back to my original statement where basically there's not a lot of people who are listening to them on that level to really gauge whether or not they're being harmful or helpful. Like the only real drama you see is amongst that community, but like most black people that I'm talking to, like that are my age and stuff, they're not really paying attention to them. So it really doesn't make any difference in my opinion.
We're better off with than without. And the reason I say so is because there is usually a place for just about everyone. Not everyone, but just about everyone. If they're just disseminating information, it could be helpful. I'm not going to say that learning about Kemet or whatever is not beneficial because I don't really know of knowledge that isn't beneficial. It may not be practical and applicable to your situation today, But, that's what historians do. I mean, they learn shit that happened 200 years ago, which may or may not be applicable to anyone today. But you have to learn it. Somebody's got to learn it. Everybody's not going to be. See, that's the thing. Everybody's not going to be everything. We can't. The purpose of a community is to, everybody has a job. And that job is not the same job for everyone. So everybody's not going to galvanize the community. Everybody's not going to be the strategist. Everybody's not going to be. Sometimes it's just going to be the people that disseminate information, which is why I don't knock when people say, well, well, you guys are just on YouTube, talking, and you're not getting out in the community doing anything. You may not be capable of doing anything in the community. This may be the way you reach your community, because talking seems ineffectual, but somebody's got to do it, because how are you going to know the information? Nobody tells you. Somebody's got to know the information. Excuse me. Somebody's got to know the information to disseminate it. And sometimes the information needs to be on repeat for the people who aren't awake yet. They have to hear it. You know what I'm saying? If I'm newly setting my feet on a path of knowledge and trying to gain information, this may be information I have not heard before, even though somebody's been saying this shit for the last 50 years. So, you know what I'm saying? So there's no time where we all have to stop talking and it's time to do, because somebody's got to pass out the pamphlet. Somebody's got to make sure food is cooked in the cafeteria. Somebody gonna have to clean the floor. Somebody gonna build the damn building. Somebody's gonna draw up the plans to build the building. Do we blame an architect for not being a construction worker? They make the plans. They do all the measurements. Make sure that the structure that they create is actually something that can be built in reality. And then you outsource that job to the construction company. So is it time for him to stop making the building so he can go build it? We don't say that. That doesn't make any sense. Because what's the construction worker gonna make if there's no plans? He can't do it. So everyone has their own job that needs to be done. And one job isn't necessarily more significant than the other. They're just different, and they're performed on different levels. So I would not oust the conscious community because what? Who we need to oust is that we have not even cleaned house of these coons. So, that's the first cleaning house we need to do is cleaning these coons, bedwinches, and these bucks out of here. The conscious community, that's something else. I mean, if they want to, like Kat said, the only little drama they be having is among themselves. And if you're not in that community, you don't even know about it. So this is not doing you any harm.
Yeah, I agree with everything Kendra said and believe that we're better off with the conscious community. I won't reiterate everything she said because she said it well. I'll just add that if for no other reason than the fact they keep their damn foot on white folks' neck, they won't allow their narrative to be the only narrative that's out there. And I appreciate that. And they are trying to educate our community. And, like Kendra said, and it has to be on repeat because the seed might not plant the first time you walk past that brother on the way to work. It might not plant until 2, 3, 4 years down the line. But sometimes people's jobs is just to plant the seed, like we're passing a baton, and then you take it the rest of the way. Somebody has to motivate you. If it's not internal, it may be an external motivation along with some information and knowledge to feed that burning desire. So absolutely, we are better off with the conscious community without. And I totally agree that they're the least of our worries as a Black community. They really are. They really are.
I agree with Kendra and Ming in that we're better off with the conscious community. For all the reasons I agree with as well. But, to add to that, I just think about feminism, and how feminism, obviously sparked MGTOW, and then, basically Red Pill and MGTOW. And I just think about that documentary maker, I can't remember her name, the little blonde chick, who wanted to make a documentary supporting feminism. And, as a result, she was interviewing these guys, these dads, to basically, point the finger at them and be like, see, this is why we need feminism. And as a result of her starting that documentary about feminism, she ended up making the documentary about Red Pill, and making a documentary about how, wait a minute, the system's really screwing over men. So the way that I see all of these movements is that there are certainly people who are in them for a positive reason, who actually want positive change within the community, within the society, and they're looking for somewhere to be other than to be going along to get along as a sheeple in the middle of society. And there's going to be many people who remain sheeple in the middle of society. And that's where they're meant to be. They are the lemmings. They'll go wherever the tide shifts, and that's fine. And there's going to be those of us who aren't quite happy being that kind of sheeple. And then, you know what, there'll be the sheeples who join movements, and then they're good being sheeple there. But one way or the other, for every 10 that are going to sit there and either be negative influences, or are going to want to twist some political movement for their gain, or going to want to bastardize some movement towards their gain, there's going to be one who's actually there for a legitimate reason, who's going to learn and assess and collect information and collect data, and eventually see that movement for what it is. And you know what? I think that all of the movements, any organization can be bastardized, whether it's within religious organizations, whether it's within social organizations, political organizations. They're going to continually be bastardized. That's what society's up to these days. I think ultimately, one way or the other, that as long as there's a place where people are going to be able to go to collect amongst themselves, hey, you know what? It's 1 out of 10 that are decent, but hey, guess what? There's 3,000 people in that organization. That's a whole lot of people, 1 out of 10, that are going to be able to get together and speak to each other, and they're going to branch the hell out of there. They're going to get out of there because, consciousness isn't for them. Wokeness isn't for them. But you know what? They've now been able to connect together, and that might be able to turn into something positive. So I think whether it's the consciousness or Red Pill or MGTOW or whatever it is, all of these organizations that are getting together because they see there's a problem and there needs to be some positive change. I think there's nothing bad about those organizations, especially within our community, because we need positive places to go. Even if they aren't positive, if you look at the whole, they're going there for a positive reason. And I think that with the way things are, the best thing that we can have right now are those outlets.
Well, me personally, I believe that we probably are better off with the people who are for real about it. We're not better off with the bullshit artists that sell you the fucking grape Kool-Aid with the grinded up vitamins in it and celery. We are not better off with the motherfuckers who sell you the bullshit jewelry that you order for $50 and the shit fall apart as soon as you get it. We're not better off with those people. Those people we're not better off with. But we are better off with the people who are serious about it. The people who try to teach others, and the people, we're definitely better off with the people who speak it and live it, because those are the people who are genuine. Okay, if they teaching it and they living it, those are the genuine people. I'm a true believer that some of us black folks don't want to get on the boat. I talk about that often. I think there's people who claim consciousness who want to be on the boat, and I also feel like there's people who claim consciousness who do not want to be on the boat. far as we are concerned as Black people, I don't think we can ever get to a point where we don't need and require information. But I think we need to be a little weary about what that information is and where it's coming from. I think we need to be wary at that at times, because a lot of bullshit information has gotten Black society in the dire straits that it's in today.
Absolutely.
So we
got to
have
consider the source.
Yeah, we have to keep that in mind. And also, finally, I like to say, and I like to refer to a friend of mine by the name of Sister Shahrazad Ali, something she always says to me when we speak. She says, Brother X, she says, all the information has been given to us already. She says people come in and they change the verbs and the nouns and the adjectives and the adverbs and the pronouns. But she says the information has already been given. So whatever you're hearing from anybody, it doesn't just have to be someone who's claiming consciousness. Anything you're hearing from anybody has more than likely been said before, has more than likely been said by someone, if not less great than this person who's saying it, greater than this person. It's something that's in a book that you could probably discover for yourself. So when you listen to these people, and I'm not going to tell you not to listen to them. I mean, you can do whatever you want. But when you listen to these people, the so-called conscious folks, make sure you keep that in mind, because they're not telling you nothing new just because it's new to you. It's not new. It may be new to you, but it's not new. And I think when you go into this stuff and you listen to people with an open mind, when you go into it like that, I think you're better prepared. And you're less likely to fall for the old okie doke conscious bullshit and end up spending $500 on some paper that doesn't mean shit. Buying bullshit elixirs and bullshit jewelry and goddamn beads that they made in New York, but they telling you they come from Africa and also kind of bullshit. You're less likely to fall victim to that bullshit. Okay? I think it's all right for you to entertain conscious folks, but just be very careful to not fall victim to the con artists folks. All right? And that's a public service announcement from OX. But anyway, I want to thank everybody for showing up tonight. Good show tonight. Good dialogue tonight, ladies, like always. I want to thank the mods. I want to thank the people in my chat, always showing up, doing what they supposed to do. I want to thank all of y'all for stopping by and spending some time with us tonight. It's always appreciated. But what I need you to do, I need you to go on down there to the Prophet of Thought series on Facebook. That's Prophet of Thought series on Facebook. That's our main page. Get on up there, like, follow. I'm trying to get it to 1,000 before the end of the month. I can't believe we almost there. I can't believe y'all take that much interest in my stuff. I appreciate it. Also, get on over there to the TPOT bandwagon page on Facebook as well. Send us a friend request. I'll make sure it gets clicked back really, really quick. And also, make sure you go down there and check out the Prophet of Thought series fan group page. That's the Prophet of Thought series fan group page on Facebook. We almost up to 3,000 members. Now that I definitely can't believe. I can't believe we got that many people in the group. So go ahead, request to be a member. I guarantee you'll get accepted really, really quick. So get on down there to the Prophet of Thought series group page and try to join. There's a lot of good stuff on there. It's not just my stuff. Other people post stuff on there too. So you ain't got to listen to just OX talk shit, because other people on there talking shit too. Also, check us out on WhatsApp and Instagram. That's Prophet of Thought on Instagram. Follow me. You automatically get a follow back. Come on, let's get those numbers up too. And we also have a Twitter. You know that thing I tell y'all about every damn week. The handle is at T.P.O.T Media on Twitter. That's at T.P.O.T Media on Twitter. Like I tell y'all every damn week, follow us on Twitter. I'm going to haunt your black ass in your sleep. Also, get on down there to the website, www.don'teventryitit.wikifoundry.com. That's www.don'teventryitit.wikifoundry.com. There's a lot of good stuff on there. X's old archives from Nubia Hood Radio days is on there. You can also catch up with the Unicorn 4 there as well. And also, like I told y'all at the top of the broadcast, get on up there and check out Tribute to the Fallen. Like I said, if you know somebody who has fallen from needless violence, well, whether it be from violence in the streets or at the hands of police, make sure you get in contact with me. Send me that photograph and their name, and I will make sure that they go up there and get paid tribute to on the Tribute to Fallen web page, and I'll make sure they get up there on the Tribute to the Fallen carousel so they can always be have a tribute to them on our website. So make sure you go down there and check that out right there on www.don'teventryitit.wikifoundry.com. Go ahead and check it out. It's a good thing. I've been touting it a lot because I want people to send me some more images and I want to load it up. I can have unlimited images. I don't care how many you send. I'll put as many in there as you send me. So go ahead and send me those. If you know somebody, or even if somebody you've seen on the news, make sure you send me that picture and give me the name, and I'll make sure it gets on the Tribute to the Fallen. So once again, I want to thank everybody for showing up, and make sure you have your black behinds here next week, same time, right here on the old TPOT YouTube page, 9:30 p.m. Eastern time, where the ladies of thought will be back. T.L.O.T Unicorn 4 dropping some jewels like they did tonight. I hope y'all had your pens and pads out and paying some attention. So I'd like to thank the Unicorn 4 for coming through tonight live and direct. Lady Classic, Lady Cats, Lady Kendra, Lady Ming, the Unicorn 4 live and direct, putting up another good show as always. So with that, I will leave you with 3 words. Like I always do, open your minds.
Open,
and we out of here, y'all.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
All right, good night, y'all. Cheers. See you next week.
Peace, folks.
Lady Kendra, Lady Cats, Lady the Unicorn 4. only from T.L.O.T.